Welcome to the MadTech Podcast from ExchangeWire, bringing you the latest news and views from the world of ad tech, media, and marketing.
Hello and welcome to the MadTech Podcast. I'm Grania Reid and your host for today, and I am joined by John Steele, Head of Content at ExchangeWire. John, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I was going to send our intern to spy on Lindsay's answers before this quiz, but I've heard that's frowned upon, so we're playing legit today.
Lovely Middlesbrough Southampton reference there.
Oh, yes.
I also don't think you need any spying, considering you're leading the way.
I keep losing.
True, yeah. Well,
what's the point in spying on me?
I just choose to win legitimately.
Yes, exactly, because you seem to every week anyway, so yeah.
And joining John, we've got Lindsay Rowntree, COO of ExchangeWire. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yes.
Ready to lose again.
Yeah, and as you might have gathered, we are having a quiz edition today. So whiteboards are at the ready, and yeah, Lindsay, you need to pull this one back a bit.
Oh, I really do.
The battle
Right, I've got
continues. Right, I'm going to dive straight into it. Big news this week with Publicis acquiring LiveRamp. So in US dollars, how much did Publicis acquire LiveRamp for?
What do you think?
I feel like I do know it. I
Yeah.
should know it. And if I get it wrong, it'll be like, well, do you read anything? Do you even read the news?
In a hilarious turn of events, my pen doesn't work. Can I borrow yours?
Oh,
You
no.
literally said,
I tried it
And
and
he's
it was
just
fine.
spied on the answers.
Oh, you see my answer? Oh, damn.
I really should know this.
Excellent. Right, Lindsay, show what you've got there.
I have put $2.2 billion.
Ah, okay. Let's see, John.
I have also put $2.2 billion.
Right, you've got to be right.
You're correct.
Yes!
Or if you're wrong, then John will get docked a point for cheating.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Don't expel me.
Yes, it was a $2.2 billion acquisition. I guess, yeah, dive into it. And what does this mean for the industry? Lindsay, what are your thoughts?
I feel like it probably, if you look at the wording in the press, should I try and get some words out? I feel like it means more to the industry. You need to sort of dig a bit deeper into this being like another consolidation play, because on the face of it, I think that yes, there's consolidation happening here, but it's very, very interesting. And you look at what LiveRamp sold for, look at what LiveRamp's business looks like, look at what Publicis are doing and kind of what their direction could be on this. There's a few things to unpick, I feel like. So LiveRamp, 2.2 billion feels like a lot of money, but for a SaaS business that was, that's, I think it works out to about 2.5x revenue, which I think back in the day, they were looking at kind of like multiples of 8 to 10x on revenue. So it's massively reduced. I mean, obviously, SaaS multiples aren't what they used to be, but it feels like Publicis have got a good deal here. But then if you look at the majority of LiveRamp's business is based out in the US, they're an identity business. Identity data is very, very difficult in Europe, certainly. So there's a regulation question here. And it makes you then wonder what a French business, Publicis, is going to do with LiveRamp, who don't have as much footprint and can't do as much in the likes of Europe. And I think something like 96% of their revenue is in the US, or 4% is in Europe, something like that. I'm not sure what their APAC footprint looks like, but there's a lot of questions around it. But I think the wording they use, which is around, what was it, co-creation of data, points to an AI angle, in the sense of it feels like an infrastructure play to me. You need to have infrastructure in place to be able to actually make use of AI and agentic. And obviously we know that Omnicom, we talked about a few years ago, Omnicom are bet big on agentic and are kind of meaningfully running campaigns through it. Publicis have had Marcel for a long time now. And they also obviously have the Sapient acquisition and the, oh my God, what's the other one? Epsilon acquisition. It feels like there's a big data play here and a big data infrastructure play here. And also, like, when I was sort of thinking, well, what can a European business do with a company that can't probably do much in Europe? Well, arguably, the majority of their revenue comes from the US still. So there could be an argument there's a lot that they can do with this in the US. Anyone that's not a Publicis client or any of the other agencies will be kind of looking at what their relationship with LiveRamp looks like going forward. So that's going to be a very, very interesting one. There's opportunity here for other identity players and clean room players to exist in this space. But you could argue that there's a space for LiveRamp to exist as a layer that pulls lots of things together, that will give Publicis a really strong pitch into how they deal with data infrastructure, because every client's kind of, going to be asking about it, asking for it, and kind of what that looks like from an AI perspective. They're getting the kind of the pipes in place beforehand to be able to then to deliver a meaningful AI offering. It could be the direction that it's going in, but also it could just be like they saw an opportunity to get a distressed asset and they took it. Could be as simple as that. And they're not really sure what they're going to do with it yet. But the co-creation of data feels like an interesting play here that lends itself towards AI, it feels like.
Because the data co-creation was described by Publicis as the process by which companies connect multiple high-value data sources across partners in a secure environment, generating new data assets that the companies could not build alone. So I guess to that point, John, like, how do you think the data co-creation would unlock agentic opportunities then for Publicis?
I think it's just with data being the lifeblood of agentic AI and the AI revolution. It's what everyone is grappling for and what everyone's trying to build on. Like you said, all the agencies, the holdcos are now in an arms race basically to up their AI capabilities. And this is Publicis making their play to have a player like LiveRamp. I think the question over the Europe and US market size is a really, really interesting one. Like 4% in Europe's.
Yeah.
For a French company to buy. Very interesting. But I wonder kind of bigger picture, basically, what it means for how the holdcos see themselves going forward, how they now want to interact with the wider ad tech, wider kind of data players. I think the room for independent ad tech is a really interesting question as well, how the holdcos are making inroads into cutting out a certain layer of ad tech, and how that in itself is going to create more space. What LiveRamp's other customers agency-wise are going to do now is a huge question as well, whether they're talking a lot about it remaining a neutral player.
This is it, the neutral thing.
I'm not sure how neutrality plays out when it's literally owned by WPP and Omnicom's biggest competitor. You can't be
Switzerland in that environment, in that scenario.
No, they're not. Like, it's not going to be a little isolated unit inside Publicis that does its own business. Like, it's now owned by one of the major holdcos. And not a bad price for LiveRamp. Like, it would have been more some time ago. But maybe it is Publicis. Wouldn't be the first time a holdco has swooped for an asset and not quite sure where it fit, and seeing what they could do with its component parts. But no, super interesting.
It is. Publicis do make good acquisitions. And this does play into their existing stack of the names that I will remember this time, Sapient and
Epsilon.
I keep wanting to say Nitro. What's
Sapient Nitro? Sapient Nitro was Sapient.
Yes, it was Sapient. So I keep saying Sapient and Nitro. I mean Sapient and Epsilon. And obviously the Marcel layer on top of this feels like it's gonna be very, very interesting to see what they do with it. I think that the data play is a fascinating one. And, if nothing else, even if you haven't got the data layer sewn up, certainly in certain regions like Europe, you can still go to your global brands and say, well, we certainly have data layer sewn up in the US, or we have data layer sewn up, and they'll kind of go, oh, cool, all right, and won't investigate any further. I mean, that's me being quite cynical, but it's enough to sort of say, look, we acquired LiveRamp, we're good to go, we're all set. It doesn't have to be completely true. But there's also a lot of cynical questions around what Publicis have been doing, with the whole trade desk angle, that I think we do need to sort of like touch on in a kind of. I don't have any opinion on it really. I don't necessarily think that big companies like that are playing these kinds of ridiculous child games. I actually think that what Publicis did was it was legitimate and genuine, and probably came from a completely different department, a completely different section of the business. Publicis is a massive multinational company. You can't assume that the people involved in acquiring LiveRamp had in any way to do with auditing their DSP portfolio. So there's no real reason to say that anything should be connected, but there's lots of chatter on various groups that say that, Publicis are pulling a fast one, doing this trade desk. That whole time they were doing it, they knew they were going to buy LiveRamp. I don't think that's probably true. I think it's probably unfair on both companies to assume that's what's going on.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, John?
No, we certainly wouldn't give credence to any conspiracy theories on this podcast.
I do enjoy conspiracy theory, though.
We are Switzerland and remain neutral in this discussion. But people are just asking questions. No, it's like probably unrelated. Eyebrows will be raised across the industry. They have been raised already, but no, it's the company's big enough that that kind of 4D chess, as some people would call it, is. I wouldn't dare to put that forward as a genuine.
Yeah, it sort of
it's
assumes
not a
hypothesis.
chatter.
Yeah, it assumes left and the right hand talk to each other, and they probably don't.
Yeah.
Because they rarely do. And also, everyone loves fueling fire, so it doesn't
No one's
take
ever
much.
gonna know.
No, it's true.
No.
Very true.
Yeah.
Those that know,
Yes.
and those that don't know. Do you
Or
want me to- I can
else
keep
there's
on going?
nothing to know.
Yeah. So those that know, there's nothing to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Those that know there's nothing to know.
Right, okay.
Yeah, okay, we'll stop that, shall we? Yeah, right. fair
Right,
enough.
okay, we're
I was having
even
fun, never mind.
playing, and I'm going to go on to the second question.
Oh, yeah,
And
questions.
I don't have a backup question if we end up everything coming even at the end of this. Anyway, second question. What percentage of UK digital advertising businesses are using AI? UK digital advertising businesses.
Digital advertising businesses.
Yeah.
UK digital advertising businesses.
John's got something.
And this is like officially having a stance on AI, not just like the colleague that their employees are
No,
using
like
it,
as a business.
Yeah.
Okay, I've gone.
Oh, okay, right.
No,
John,
hang on. I
have you
don't
got
want to get in the
something?
way of my. Hang on, I need to. Don't mind me.
Yeah, we're not.
Here we
Right,
go.
okay, you ready?
I have an answer.
John, show your board first, please.
I've gone 85%.
We've got different answers, guys.
Okay, well, that's a start.
Right. And Lindsay, what have you got?
I went lower. I went 70%.
Ah.
I almost put 85.
How funny.
But then I thought, I don't know why I went lower. I thought, I wonder, like, is there still quite a lot of companies that are waiting and seeing, or like just don't really have an actual stance on it yet? I know we're in digital, so you'd assume that it should be 100%,
Yeah.
but it also feels like it might not be.
I thought I'd gone middle ground quite low, actually, with 85.
I do feel like I've gone way low.
Okay, well, the answer is actually 95%. Oh, yeah. So, John, you've
out
got
loud.
that one.
I hate this game.
Sorry, Lindsay. I guess, yeah. Like, what do you think has fueled this AI adoption, John? Huge, 95%.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. We're as an industry talking about how great AI and the possibilities of AI is. It would be, yeah, as Lindsay said, like we've spent so much time talking about it over the last 12, 18 months that anything less than 100 is like would be, a surprise.
Yeah.
But like that's high. But no, it's everywhere. I think that's it. It doesn't say to what level this is quantifying that 95%. So whether it's someone who's using Claude for like efficiencies, that kind of, workflow, etc., or full on, this is an AI business now, which we've seen a lot of. That's not clear, but it's 95%. It's a tasty amount of people who are now using it as part of the day-to-day in their business. And it's unavoidable. It's the only game in town. It's what everyone wants to talk about. It's what everyone's doing. We are, I was on a call this morning talking to someone, and my LinkedIn is flooded with people boasting that they've run out of Claude credits for their vibe coding plans.
Oh my God.
And it's
Get a
become,
life.
yeah, I was going to say, like, just touch grass, man. Just go for a walk.
Touch grass. I like that, yeah.
Does my head in a lot of it, but it's this is it's not just what the ad industry is built on, it's what the future is going to be built on.
Yeah.
So yeah, despite going for 85%, 95% doesn't exactly surprise me either. Yeah.
So the research showed that the adoption is both established and accelerating. So 72% of digital advertising businesses have actually been using AI for at least a year, while 46% say it will be a priority area for investment over the next 5 years. 5 years is a very long time considering how things are accelerating.
It's a very long time.
But
5 months should be more accurate.
Yeah.
yeah, do these figures shock you in terms
I mean, I think that the acceleration rate doesn't shock me in the slightest.
Yeah.
But I think the 5-year thing does shock me because I think that even those people answering that question probably think, 5 years, but I'm thinking more like 1 year. I also think that when we talk about AI, we have to also assume that it's often the assumption is that when I say I'm using AI, it's like my company has built a tool based off of Claude or whatever, and it's been coded, and that's how I'm using it. But also, with digital businesses, every platform we use is now an AI-based platform. If you're using PMax, if you're using, Meta, what's it called, Automated Plus? I may have made that up. Whatever it's called, or if you're using like any DSP, like there's so much AI involved in those processes now that you are using AI, whether it's directly as a business that you've invested in it yourself or investing in companies that are using AI. You're still using AI in some way. So that would be 100% if people sort of thought about it. Definitely 100%. And I think that, as John said, it is the only game in town. Whether we want that to be the case or not, there's other shit going on, but fine. There is still so much capacity for use. And, you go back to the Publicis story of them buying LiveRamp. And I want to understand, I would love to understand how, what the ratio of usage of AI versus actual gained efficiencies actually looks like, and how they're tracking if it's working for them or not, if they've actually kind of really thought about what AI looks like structurally for them as a business, compared to kind of what, if Publicis are buying the likes of LiveRamp to get their infrastructure in place to then be able to kind of have a true agentic offering, like what Omnicom have done. Like certainly smaller businesses, are they just using it because they feel like they should do? Is it really being used to the best of its abilities? How are people engaging with it is what I'd be fascinated to understand. Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
We've got our AI agenda completely locked down, haven't we? So,
we've nailed it.
Yeah. So no, we don't need any advice or help. No.
I'm concerned. I bounce around a lot with my thoughts on AI. I'm excited a lot by the capabilities of it. I think there is, like I say, it is the future regardless. Like this is, the direction we're going. I'm concerned.
And you love Grok, don't you? It's your absolute favourite.
Has that not been banned yet? Like, how has it not happened? I've asked so often for it to be banned.
Lindsay, why'd you bring this up?
Don't bring him into
Grok,
it.
why aren't you banned yet?
It's it's lucky we're not talking about Sam Altman and Elon Musk today. Anyway, I am concerned that the industry is building its house on sand as far as AI goes at the moment. That the foundations aren't there, that the regulation isn't there for it to be used properly. I know we're the industry of fail fast. We are, fail fast and break things.
I hate this. Move fast. Go into the Facebook offices. Everyone's posted all over the walls. Move fast and break things.
It's the opposite of what we should be doing here. Like, it is possible to move fast, but the industry could very easily be washed away as the tide progresses. We need those strong foundations. We need those regulations in place, because, like you said, some smaller companies might be using it because they feel they should, not because they know what the capabilities are. And that way lies danger for me.
I totally agree with you. Because also that, actually, your point of regulation, it brings up the point of regulation. What are we feeding into these platforms that we just aren't even thinking about? Do we have policies around what data we are allowing these LLMs to ingest? Because it could be protected first-party data. Because just do a quick analysis of these list of people for me, please, and dedupe this data set. Like, we don't know, the data breaches that could be occurring here are vast, and I think there's not any real forethought or foresight into kind of how we are using them, and certainly because it's a bit from a business perspective, it's not a personal perspective. Like, would you share the same stuff personally? You probably would do, actually. Like, I suppose, again, we are treating it a bit like a black box, and what we're putting in there isn't going any further. Like, there's loads of stuff coming into it, but our stuff isn't going any further than this one thing we're talking to. And we need to kind of think about that, the kind of more kind of like dangerous? No. Yeah, sure. Skeptical. Cautious. Thank you. Cautious lens on it.
Yeah, it's that. I get annoyed with this term of decelerationist being used as a slur, and
It's what's the word?
Decelerationist, people who are against. Now. Yeah, it's being used a lot in the VC circles, and those guys in the States talking about how that's standing in the way of AI progress and how anyone who wants to slow down is needs to get with the program and embrace the rapid change of AI. No, it's just approaching it with caution for those very reasons. We're feeding it all the information in the world, and without the proper guardrails, without the proper regulation around it, it's danger.
So it's been noted that 57% of businesses have already put governance or ethics frameworks in place to oversee the use of AI systems and data, which is actually rising to 76% among larger firms.
That's good. That's actually encouraging.
I was going to say, are these numbers good? Do you think they
bad.
should be higher?
They should be, but
Yeah.
50, I think as a start point, 57 is actually really encouraging to me. I think that's a thought. I know that's only just over half, but not bad. And 70 among larger companies who definitely should, when they have governance layers and HR practices and stuff, like companies of that size should be thinking about this stuff. I'm not too discouraged by that, to be honest.
But again, I wonder like what that looks like in practice. Like, is it just governance washing or regulation washing?
don't
Like, okay,
know.
we put a policy in place. Are your employees sticking to the policy? Are the people that are running and guarding your AI structure, are they sticking to the policy? Also, what about the governance of AI in general? Like, how is that still impacting kind of what you are doing within your business? Because there's no regulation. There's like, and governance and enforcement are two different things. Like, we know from our own ICO, like, just because they have regulation in place, and there is AI regulation in place in this country, the actual enforcement of it, because we're very understaffed and have no money, is very limited, and that applies throughout the world. And there's no kind of real cross connection between markets. You look at sort of China and China's stance on AI versus the US stance on AI. Like, there needs to be sort of like a bridge somewhere that where there's shared regulation and kind of everyone's in agreement of how AI is being used. Because AI is, as with most things, when it comes to tech, certainly AI is growing faster than regulation can keep up with it. And but probably so much faster than anything else before it has grown. Like, regulations always struggle to keep up with tech. But it's probably been like, if regulation is like, say, here, tech is like, maybe a foot ahead. AI is like 10,000 feet ahead. Like, that, there's so much more resource and understanding that needs to go into it. And I think that what you do as an individual, as a company, is not enough in isolation at the moment. It's still a very dangerous area to be playing in. I mean, I'm saying that like I'm this wonderful angel who doesn't go near it. Like, we're all playing in it, but we all need to be careful what we're doing with it.
Yeah, for sure. And then that's sort of the key point, is everyone is using it.
Yeah.
And that's why, to whatever extent, whether it's building an entire workflow for your company or making a Mirrorball logo for your company because you were inspired by Spotify, who might do that on a morning? It is the small things.
Sorry.
What?
What
were you
Spotify
doing
logo,
this morning?
which is very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and you created a Mirrorball logo for ExchangeWire.
Yep.
Because you were inspired by the Spotify logo.
I just want.
And what did it look like?
I will put it in the show notes for everyone to see.
Good God.
I'll send it to the company.
Okay.
It's
At
not
least
as good.
John's working hard, eh, guys?
It's not as good as I thought. AI does my job, Lindsay. I just make pictures.
John just plays on AI all day.
I've been Claude for the last 6 months.
Oh, amazing. Got to see this.
Don't fire me.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have words later.
On to the third question.
Right.
In US dollars, what figure is Meta's ad revenue projected to hit in 2026? Okay.
What?
Lindsay's not sure.
No, I'm not. Oh, okay.
Okay. I think you've both got something written.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to go to Lindsay first.
I have gone with $200 billion.
Dun, 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 dun.
Da-da-da.
John, what have you put down?
Gone low. Gone $160 billion.
160. Okay.
Now it's but I may have got the figure wrong. I thought Q1 revenue was like 50 billion. So I extrapolated out,
yeah,
assuming
you've done
but I'm probably completely wrongly assuming they'd all be the same.
Well,
But Q1 could be better than the other Qs.
I've gone 40 billion a quarter, so let's see.
I see. It's yeah.
Okay. Lindsay, you are closest.
At
200.
I've won a quiz.
No, you haven't.
Why?
Oh yeah, you have. Sorry, you have.
Yeah, bloody have.
Sorry.
Don't take my victory away from me.
Sorry.
Just shut up.
Hang on, no, you didn't. You both got it right. Oh yeah,
Oh,
never
it was
mind.
no, it's an oh my
It's
god,
an
yeah.
even.
Yeah, you've
It's
won.
even.
Tie.
No,
Oh,
it's not.
for crap's sake.
So we both tied the first one.
Yeah, and you got the second one.
I got it's a tie.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
damn
a
it.
tie. Sorry,
Anyway,
do you want me
big
to
six.
tell you the
Yeah,
actual
sorry, yeah, sorry.
answer?
Sorry, G, carry on.
It's like Middlesbrough all over again. I
I
thought I'd
thought
lost
you
and now I'm
won.
back in it.
It was $240 billion
Oh.
is the projected
Good God.
ad revenue. But yeah, I know. Thoughts? Huge. Obviously by that good God
200
response.
I mean,
Shocked.
well, yeah, because wow, what was Q1 revenue? I thought it was 50. Maybe it was higher than that. So that means that they are expecting kind of greater quarters for the rest of the year, and that makes perfect sense for lots of reasons. But like it's not often things that cause big spikes in their revenue are like election years, like because obviously there's so much political advertising in the US. Certainly that normally gives them a big bump in revenue. Revenue last year was under 200, wasn't it?
Yes, it was 196 billion
Oh,
US
right,
dollars.
almost under
Yes.
200.
So
Yes,
they
that's-
grew 22% in 2025 in ad revenue, and
So they're looking at sort of similar-ish growth
Yeah,
again this year.
Again.
and then they're projecting in 2027 that it will slow slightly to 12.1% growth.
And that's quite a big slowdown. I think that's half the projected this year, but still massive.
Yeah.
I wonder what is they think is going to cause a drop from like 22% to 12% 2027. Like, what are they foreseeing in their future? Or what are the people? Was it Walk? Was it Walk?
Work.
That did this?
Yeah.
Wonder what they were seeing that they're looking at that's making them think there's going to be a drop of that amount, because it's still massive.
Yeah.
Well, they have more than 3.5 billion people around the world using Meta apps every day, but then they saw a first quarter-on-quarter decline due to geopolitical reasons between Russia, Iran, and so forth.
Oh yeah,
so
active users went down. Yes,
That could be something that
Yeah,
they're taking
that's
into account
true.
for projections for next
Yeah.
year.
they're not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Because also, I'm fascinated by. I was reading about what they are projected to invest in AI on an annual basis, something like 145 billion a year, which I think investors aren't delighted about.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because like their history with AI is a strong one. They did so well renamed their company to Meta and kind of really going all in on the metaverse, and I just feel like it's going to work out really well for them. But like they haven't got anything else. Like
That's
they have their ads business, which is such a strong ads business, and as we keep saying, they should probably just double down on that, because like it's still growing, but trying to then invest money into other areas, and they obviously need to invest in AI. I get that, but what are they trying to achieve with that amount of investment in AI? What are they trying to get out of it? Is what I'm not quite clear on.
They're trying to make a move following others in the area.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
it's always the
they
case
can't
with
stay
Meta. It's
behind.
following. It's
Yeah.
that we talked about it
They
last
are,
week
they're
with Cash.
cheap.
It's just
Yeah.
he made the big splash against the grain with the metaverse and those weebles that he put on screen and thought was fun to go and play poker with someone, your avatar, and it was daft as a brush, and it was very very quickly was pushed aside, and now AI is the bet, and he's just gone back to reverted to type in following the crowds in towards the AI millions. Those weebles still make me laugh.
so brilliant, so brilliant. Legs
But-
are hard.
I mean, I read a piece in the New York Times last week, which was like Meta is dying, and it was talking about some of the great digital companies over the years that have met their end, and the quote was like, Meta has the stench of death on it at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Which it
Wonderful.
went really hard. So to find out that company, which with the stench of death still attracts 250 billion ad revenue is.
I mean, Meta is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
and those
definitely
figures,
dangerous.
the figures that we've just discussed aren't showing the stench of death, but
No.
No,
Yeah.
definitely not.
Meta added roughly £40 billion in new ad revenue between 2024 and 2026. So where is that money actually coming from in terms of budgets? Is it reshuffling away from other channels?
There's been a general increase in CPMs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as there's been an increase in everything in life. So the net, Yeah, so the amount that someone is paying for 1,000 impressions now versus 5 years ago will have increased as it will do every year anyway. So that will have definitely had a massive impact on their, like if you think about the number of impressions that exist on across the Meta's platforms, that will have had just that alone will have had a huge impact on their bottom line. And I guess, there's just this, like we've said before, like they are very good at advertising. They have a very, very good identity layer, identity graph, and they are very, very good at kind of showing results and giving people what they want. And they are easy to invest in. Like, we've mentioned this quote before, but what was it like? Advertisers say like no one's ever going to lose their job for investing in Google or investing in Meta. You're not going to, because it tends to keep delivering. So that's where they continue to do very, very well. And they've got things like the name of, I can't remember again, Automatic Plus. They've got products like that, which, are a bit sort of black boxified. But if it's easy for you to put money in and results get spat out, why would I not invest in that?
Yeah.
When it's easy for me to do that.
They've got like the Venn diagram of scale, reach, ease, and habit, basically.
Yes.
With Meta in the middle, and no one's going broke betting on it.
No, exactly.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. Well done, nearly on
With
winning
a tie,
that,
though.
Lindsay.
A tie break. What are we going to do?
Well, you nearly won,
break?
but you didn't. But yeah, next time we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
We'll think about the format more and work out what we do in the
We need
case
a
of a
tie-break
tiebreaker.
question. Yeah. Come up with a tie-break question now. Go on, do it.
Think of a colour, G, and we each have to guess which colour you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Go.
She could just lie though.
No, I won't. Okay, I'll type it. I'll show Dana. Did you just hang on? What did you say? Colour.
Think of a colour.
Yeah. Okay.
She writes down a number.
Sorry if I'm dyslexic. Have you written something down?
I've got my colour.
I can already tell you you're wrong.
Oh, damn.
I don't know what you're writing, but it's a bit long for what I've got in my head.
Crying out loud.
Go, John.
I'm an orange.
Orange. Oh, that's long too.
Fuck's sake.
Look, you're both wrong. It's your t-shirt.
Oh, I've gone red. Okay, I'm colourblind.
Think of another colour.
Is that what you went?
Red.
Okay, we'll do it
what
again.
else
We'll
now?
do it again.
Another colour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going until one of us wins.
Yeah, this is
This
the
is
best.
fun. Everyone's enjoying this. Come on, guys.
The best viewing and listening experience you'll have this week.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay, Lindsay, go first now.
Yellow.
Okay.
Blue.
Oh, John, blue.
Oh, for
blue,
Christ's sake.
blue.
The odds are stacked against me every week. It's clearly rigged. It's evidently rigged.
Another
Okay.
victory.
Apologies for all the madness, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. John, Lindsay, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for
and
having me.
I look
Been
forward
fun,
to the
thank
next quiz.
You've been listening to the MadTech Podcast, brought to you by ExchangeWire.